Or
Ooh, they gave us a whole little warning.
yeah,
Starting
you can
now.
leave.
Okay, Team Votable in the house. Team Votable in the house. What's up, y'all?
We ain't got no music.
No, oh man, my bad. I didn't start. Well, that's because this is pre-recorded. So thank y'all for tuning in and watching this video. All who are, let me look into the camera. If you are catching this, you are now tuned in to Team Votable. I am Roni. So I'm probably posting this and they are posting this and you're seeing it on Votable. So we want to thank you for your support first and foremost. I wanted to sit and talk to the people who have been on this journey with me. There's been a lot of help that we've gotten along the way. So shout out to everyone who has contributed. But more importantly, behind this platform that I have built has been a group of my nearest and dearest helping shepherd me through. And so we're going to take some time and talk to them and let them share on their experience along with me on this journey of building Votable to help all of us become informed. And I think you're going to be very interested in each of us because we all come from kind of a different realm of being informed around voting and politics. So we want to share that with y'all tonight. We are missing one, so shout out to Ruben who couldn't be here, but who is here right now is my good friend Victoria Washington and my other really good friend Whitney Waite.
Hello.
So bear with us because we're gonna just kind of have a discussion, let y'all know what it was like to build this app, to be a part of this app, to deal with Crazy Roni as she was building this app, and they're gonna give you all of the tea behind that. And all of this is happening, probably you're watching this while we're seeing the election stuff go on. So this can kind of take your mind off of that for a minute and just hear the story behind the story. So first, introduction. Vicki is operations extraordinaire. She has really done a work again in working with me to keep things organized. She has worked on the C-level for a startup already. So she already came in the game with a bunch of experience and she's coming out of Michigan, which was key for us because that's one of the key swing states. And then Whitney, on the other hand, came in with a bunch of product experience, product management experience, and she's also our sophisticated voter. So she was one of the people who already knew what was on the ballot, who does what, and was our resident expert and pulled together all of our issue stuff. So first, let me just hear from y'all. And Vic, you can start and kick us off. What was it like when I approached you with the idea for Votable?
Well, first off, I mean, I feel like Votable is just one of your many genius ideas. So, I mean, I already knew that from, back in the day when we've known one another through college. I'm just excited and grateful to be in your presence half the time. So, but I really, really thought it was an excellent idea. I thought that more importantly, like the app that you envision, the vision that you have for Votable, it would reach someone like me. So confession time, I am the one who has still not yet voted. I've been sitting on my absentee ballot for quite some time. I feel overwhelmed. I'm reading it back and forth, flipping it, tripping it up, down. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I'm grateful that I do have now access to an app like Votable that I can use it as I'm going through my ballot. So I was excited. I thought that it was first off needed. And that's, as an entrepreneur, you don't put anything out there that's not meeting a need. The whole point of you coming up with a genius idea is the fact that it actually has to be fulfilling a gap that exists. Not that you go create a gap and then try to come up with a solution for it. So I think that that's what really attracted me to the idea, is knowing that if nobody else, you was going to have at least one user, and that was going to be me. And that was good.
And me. And with being a resident expert at politics as a civilian. You know, you're not a politician, but you knew more than Victoria and I for sure.
Yes.
What was your thoughts when I approached you with this idea and just like the platform in general?
Sure. So I remember when you reached out. So Roni and I sync probably like every week. We're always chatting about something, and we make sure we have it on the book. So I know every Sunday I'm always chatting to Roni. So we're always having our little conversations, and then finally one Sunday in June, maybe even early June, I think, she's like, "Whit, I got an idea." I'm like, "Okay, another idea." And then she explained her vision for Votable, and it was like, this is something I have to do, and I want you on my journey. And I think if we don't do it, it's going to be a big waste, and it's going to be an opportunity missed. And so I was super excited, obviously, to jump on board with Roni and also learn about a lot of different things through different perspectives. And so it's not something that I've had, not something that I always thought about in the forefront of looking at it through a social justice lens. I think I've looked at it as, I know the process, I know kind of what to expect every election term, and then I understand what's on my ballot. So when Roni was sharing the idea of just, let's get Votable, I'm like, but there's so much information out there already. A lot of information already exists. And then as we started going through things and distilling the information, it was like, holy cow, there is too much information. It is too complicated. And so there were a lot of texts back and forth. It's like, what does this mean? What is this? I'm like, oh gosh, how do we explain this in like very easy terms? So a lot of it was education and re-education, even for myself. So even though I knew about how things work, you kind of realize how complex things can be, and trying to understand it and then make sense of it for somebody else who's not familiar with it. So kind of, I thought it was a great idea, and who wouldn't want to be a partnership with Roni? So I thought it was great.
Well, wait, on the note of who wouldn't want to be a partnership with me, so I'll point this out. I think Whit this morning probably sent one of the like semi-long texts.
The novel.
that almost beat me. But like if we scroll through like the amount of blue in our text thread, y'all, where I am just like, I'm just going, y'all. Like I could just keep going. If you're talking about working on a project with me, like look at what I'm doing to them. Like you
get y'all on mute. Y'all better quit playing. I had to put y'all on do not disturb. I'm like, Jesus, I just need a Votable session, and I can. But that bing, 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 oh no, I had to put that on do not disturb for a second. And yeah. I have my time to check in, because I have to process it. Because y'all be firing off, and it be so good. And I'm like, okay, if I open this link and I can't do anything with it, it's gonna be a waste. And then it's done. Like, it's off my plate. It never even got on my plate. So
well, I think the communication of all that, first Vic was like, I don't know where y'all are going with this, but I think it's good. And then it was like, all right, I think this could be good, but what about this? And then there was some engagement, and then towards the end it was like, thumbs up, yeah. Heart.
Right.
I think it was like, yeah, I think she learned how to communicate. At first, like, there are too many texts. You might just having a separate call to fill me in.
Right.
Well, let's talk about that. So, like, everybody has to understand, like, all of us, number one, we're all in different states, like every single one of us, which is really bizarre. They're in Eastern time. Ruben and I are in Central time. And so, like, first you got to figure out, like, okay, what time zone are we going to speak in here, people? But then, well, it's only an hour difference, which is fine. But then, yeah, like, we all have other jobs or businesses that are going on. So, and then the pandemic was happening too, and everybody was trying to adjust to that. And then everything was happening with the civil unrest. So, like, we're there's always something flying around. So it's like a crazy time to be building like a media, like we were building kind of a media platform, and none of us really had that experience, right? So we're trying to figure out, while all of these moving parts are happening, how can we get, like you said, the data that we need to be sharing with people, but make it digestible at the same time. And so that's what's in a lot of our threads. It's like, did y'all see this article? Did y'all see this? Did you see this? Did you see that? Did you read this? I read this today. And we're trying to figure out though, how to like really piece it down together. So like, let's talk about how we were able to start speaking, like to find our votable voice, I think is really what it was, right? Like, we started in our Google Doc. Well, Vic, let's talk about how we moved from text to like a more reasonable platform. Like, how did you wheel that in?
So I'm gonna be clear. I really had to consider, as a small business owner, what are my issues with my current team, co-founders, really, because it's not like, we are a team with co-founders. And what are the things? And so when you invited me to this, I said, oh yes, I'm redoing it all. I'm streamlining it all, because I know the ways that it's so easy for me to check out when it's disorganized. And I don't know, as Whitney, you pointed out, it was like those last couple texts that really it was action items, right? I feel like it's important you can inform, your team, or you can be asking something of them. And so if you're informing me, it's kind of like when you're talking in front of them and you're just like, you're giving those nonverbal cues that I'm listening to you. Well, it's very hard to do that via text. So I thank God with the iPhones, we can do the little thumbs up or the heart, just acknowledging what you said. Because I may not have a full-blown response for you, but when you start getting to action items or taking a pulse and saying, hey, what do you think about us moving in this direction? And then, yes, I have to jump in and say, yes, I agree. No, I don't, I don't agree. But for us finding our votable voice, I think one of the things that we've done very well is to keep the main thing, and that is we are to be an unbiased source. And so we've challenged one another very clearly at every hand. We've all challenged one another to say, hey, what about us saying this? Okay, wait a minute. Is that your personal opinion, or is this something that we can truly go on record as Votable and say that this is what Votable is saying, or is this what Victoria or Roni or Whitney or Ruben are saying? And so we have been flexible with one another. And I think that's a part of working together as a team, is recognizing the strengths. We've divvied up the roles very clearly, but we aren't afraid to challenge one another and kind of scoot up but get along one side another in our lanes, but we still all know what hats we're wearing. And so of course we use the tools that we need to stay organized and and as you mentioned, we all have life going on outside of this. So how do we give each other grace as well to say, hey, I actually don't expect you to digest 25 text messages in a 5-minute segment. So I think that those are some of the strengths that we've had and the tools that we've used to find our voice.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so from a content perspective, other thing that Vic is like clutch in editing everything. So that's great, and a super fast reader. And then on the other side, Whitney's a great writer and just has a very good tone when she's thinking about delivery. So what about, let's talk about more. So you mentioned like the social justice piece. And I think for Votable, that was like a big thing for us. Like, it's kind of our moat, or like our unique thing for our platform, because we are minority led as a group. Our voice really was something that related to us, right? That was relevant to us. And it's something we felt was kind of missing amongst the outlets currently today. We wanted to be able to show how government and politics impacts us through social justice. So Whit, tell us more about just how we were able to find that, and kind of your process, because you personally like pulled together what we needed for the issues tab.
I don't know if I had a process. Other than, I think it first started when we're like, let's when we think about the content, let's think about it at its most like basic rudimentary form. Like, what is our government? And then we started with the the positions and the roles and responsibilities. And then as you're doing your research to understand things, and as you're reading things in the news, it's like, whoa, this role has the responsibility of doing this and has the power and authority to decide A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, it becomes clear, like, we got to tie this back to everything that's going on and what we hear and read and see on a day-to-day basis regarding social justice. So I think just by starting from the beginning of looking at the different offices, who can decide what, and then tying it back to, all right, our senators have the ability to determine this, which is going to impact your life. So I think, really taking that foundational step was probably the easiest way to tie it back, and was like a good learning experience too, where it's like, we know police brutality is top of mind. We know police reform, law enforcement reform, all that. It's like, who's deciding these decisions? Who's making an impact? And I think by taking this approach of really thinking at like our government at a foundation and then tying it back to what was going on in news, it kind of just was easy to marry together, I think. And also to Vic's point about not including your own opinion. And so, when you're first going through the early iterations of your draft, it's like, this position does this, and I think this, and I think this issue is wrong. And I think Vic did a good job one time of calling me out. She's like, no, that's your opinion that it is wrong. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was being unbiased, but really I'm not, because I'm somehow inserting my opinion into this. So I think it's sometimes when you are passionate about certain issues and topics such as social justice, which fuels so much passion, it's easy to kind of go down this way of like inserting your beliefs and opinions, and you always have to kind of take a step back, and that's not what our platform is trying to do. So I think it's kind of good to have those checks and balances on our team for that.
100%, 100%. And I think that was definitely one of the biggest, like you guys mentioned, like tug of war. Like it was just, especially with dealing with social justice, like you mentioned, it's just, how do we, unfortunately, some of those things are not important to others, right? And so how do we just present the facts though, without, overwhelming emotion about, this is bad, this is wrong, or this is right. To a certain moral degree, I think that we can all agree on, certain things, but it's a tightrope that we're trying to walk here. So y'all pray for us as we continue to try to walk this rope. Let's turn over to just voting in general from a personal perspective, and just give like some background on how we've each, how you all have approached it. And if there's time, I'll add mine, but everybody else can listen to me. So I want you guys to share just from a personal, like keeping it real when it comes to voting, where you were pre-project and where you are now, maybe.
That's good. I like that. I have a sliver of hope to offer. Honestly, so in my past, when Obama was in there, I mean, I'm gonna be real, I was in college. I was excited to vote. I remember us all being up studying and hearing the news of his win. And so that was an exciting thing. But as you can hear, just even from this story, the focus was on the president. It was not on who else was on the ballot. I don't know if I picked somebody just because their name sounded good. I genuinely don't know. So when you fast forward that as, post college, I can't say that I broke that streak very well. Now I did, go to some like political events, but I ain't gonna lie, that probably was just for the social aspect, or just, you might bump into somebody, I'm single, ready to mingle. So, hey, go to a political arena, maybe get some, find somebody that'll school me on politics. All right, cool. But it was with the intent of still going and gaining knowledge and being able to see a politician, especially on the local level, see a politician, hear them in the flesh, and kind of, if I did have questions or hear other people's questions. So I do feel like it piqued my interest a little bit, and I showed that. But I've always felt overwhelmed. With not fully knowing who's on the ballot. And I want to know your history. Like, my position is that, simply put, Your commercial sounds great, as does everyone else's. So thanks for your highlight reel, but I want to know about your, dirty laundry in a sense of how it will affect my life. So through Votable and being a partnership, number one is definitely caused me to have some level of accountability, because I feel like I can't show up to the next Votable team meeting talking about I didn't vote at all. Now, I'll admit I still have yet to cast my ballot, but I have intention to, and I have made that a priority. So I have sat down, I've opened the ballot, I've looked at it. I've taken the time now, instead of just any, mini, miny, mo, but saying, okay, I see your name. Now let me at least go first to the Votable app and see what I can find. And then two, now, because I'm on the team of knowing where we're even getting our data, it's not coming from us. We've made that very clear. We're presenting in an unbiased way. Now I know where to go look a little bit better of know where to go look. So I am now I'm baby stepping into becoming an informed voter. And I'm very excited about that because of Votable.
We can't wait, Vic, to hear after you have voted. We're still checking in every day to see if you have your plan, how you're going to execute.
Yes. I do have a plan. 10 a.m. tomorrow.
That's perfect. I was going to say, so I've lived in a lot of different states, and then I also lived abroad for a little bit. And so I think I have a lot of ties and connections to several US states, and then also participated in voting when I lived abroad and overseas through absentee voting. So I think as I were to jump in to this voting cycle with Votable, I think it really taught me just how nuanced each state is in their approach to voting, whether it's how you choose your local elected officials, the roles and responsibilities that they have, who decides what. I think when I voted in the past, last time I voted in the 2016 election, it was really kind of, all right, I know who I want to vote for president. I know who I want to vote for senators and even the House, right? So really at that federal level. And I think with Votable and kind of taking that step back to think about the ballots and measures that we added, what each role does, it really taught me to kind of take a step back. It really matters who you vote in at the state level. It really matters who you vote in at the local level. These people have more impact, profound impact on your day-to-day life than somebody does at the federal level. And I think building Votable and kind of learning more about the nuances of each state, how the roles and responsibilities are determined, and just thinking about it again, our elected local officials really make an impact. So I think it's just take time and do your due diligence as you're going into, voting. We're probably voting from home this election. So you have all the resources at your disposal to not just go in and either leave something blank, to write in a silly name, or to vote a lot with party lines. You really have the opportunity this election to do your homework. So I think Votable was really good to really understand that, and then also go use the app and understand how and why I'm going to vote. So I think it was great. So I think it was just kind of a wake-up call to realize just things really do matter at the local level.
100%. And Whitney also did her thing on our ballot explainer, which has those descriptions. So everybody go check out the 2020 tab there. I think in closing, one maybe brief thought about the future. So everybody probably knows, well, we're one day away from election recording this, and some people are even probably seeing it on election day. So what are some quick thoughts that you have about the future of a platform like this? I know I have a vision, which I could share, but I would love if you guys had a quick, how do we keep going from here?
Yeah. I mean, well, what we know is there's a lot of work. I mean, kind of piggybacking off of what Whitney said, because it's not just about the federal level, and state and local elections and politics is happening every day. And I think I love that. I think it was on your last interview, one of your interviews, you were talking about the idea of when you hire a housekeeper or even a tutor for your children or whatever the case may be, you'd have a pulse on how they're doing. You're going to do an inspection. You're going to see how are they doing, because if baby girl not scrubbing them floors well, you're going to kick her out and you're not going to feel bad about it. You're not going to keep her there and say, well, I'll just deal with the dust and mire. That's not your function. That's not what you're there for. So I love that, really being a part of this project and Votable. The hope is that now we've given information, but now how do we further equip voters? You voted these people in. Now, how do we help you to feel equipped and empowered to hold them accountable? That's happening 365, that's happening 365, so that we know and feel empowered as voters of what to do when we don't feel like the public servants are serving us. So I think that there's plenty of work to do. And as we've covered a little bit about civic tech and the benefits of that and just the existence of that field, it's like the sky truly is the limit. So I think that there's a bright future for Votable in this space.
I think that was well said. So to complement Vic's point about the accountability, I think with regards to Votable, I think there's a great opportunity to make like democracy feel less passive, right? To be actively involved. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a radical and go marching and protesting. I think a big aspect of that is just understanding on a day-to-day, like the decisions that are getting made and how they impact you. And I would encourage everybody to take a little bit more of an active role. It could even be as simple as reading the news and actually listening to what's going on and then trying to tie it back to how does this impact your life. It could be actually taking a look at when you go to a doctor's and you get the bill, understand what your bill means and how much you're paying. And like, I think you can start to see everything kind of weave together and, tie together. But I also think it's a really complex process. So I think Votable's going to be super important in, taking these complex ideas or taking these things that seem really complicated and scary and uncertain and making it easy to understand. So distilling it so that, everybody can take some action without maybe feeling afraid or feeling powerless that they don't have the answers that they need.
Well, couldn't have said it better myself, folks. I agree with it all. It's been really life-changing, and I think we have the ability to really shift a paradigm when it comes to government and citizens, especially minority and especially young people. Like Whit said, like, I'm probably not grabbing that newspaper. So what can we build as an alternative, right? That would make, like Victoria said, just make it seem less daunting. And I think that's what we're aiming to do. That's what the future prayerfully holds. And with the continued support from all of y'all, we will get there. I want to personally thank Ruben, AJ, who are not seen here, but have been great and critical points to our journey with the platform, but especially these two women here. Whitney and Victoria, couldn't have done it without y'all. I truly and ultimately appreciate your sweat equity in this endeavor. It's been a true labor of love, and I love working with and collaborating with my good friends. This has been an opportunity of a lifetime to build this from the ground up with y'all. So I appreciate you. I look forward to the future, and anything or ideas that you all have that are tuning in or watching, feel free to reach out. We will be prayerfully, hopefully, sharing some great updates and announcements in the near future, post-election. In the meantime, in between time, if it's not yet post-November 3rd, please get out and vote. Please download the app. Please get informed. And also, after you have voted, please post your I voted digital sticker, which is available only on Votable. All right, well, y'all, thank you so much.